Hello, everyone, and welcome to Behind the Screen Door, the podcast for Screen.com. This is our first episode, everyone.
Yay!
Woo!
Yeah.
That was...
Crowd noises.
Look.
Rutabaga, 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 rutabaga.
I'm trying to be legitimately enthusiastic here, people. Your sarcasm is really throwing me off. I don't appreciate it.
No, I'm just saying we don't have an actual crowd. We don't have a laugh track, so I'm just, I'm making the, crowd noise for you.
All right, next week, laugh track. We're doing this.
Good.
I'm Alex Navarro. I am the sort of the head dude here at Screened. It's, our first episode. I'm pretty excited about it. Matthew Rory, what's going on, man?
Not very much. I'm here. It's Monday morning. It's very gloomy outside, unfortunately, so...
So you having, the sort of seasonal affective disorder, you're very gloomy as well.
I'm just not really into podcasting right now.
We'll get into it because we're going to have to do it. Matthew Lopez, Screened intern. How's it going, man?
It's going great. I just had my coffee enema. I am good to go.
That's disgusting. Ryan Davis from Giant Bomb is also joining us this week. How are you doing?
Giant Bomb's own.
Giant Bomb's
America's
own.
favorite. Yeah, I'm here. I'm sitting in fourth chairing it for you because I like talking about movies. I just like the sound of my voice.
I love the sound of your voice.
I just like, having my voice amplified is just, it's one of the greatest things. So you give me an opportunity to come and take advantage of that, and I'll do it. Thanks for having me.
It's an erotic experience, let me tell you, having you here right now.
Gross.
All right, so Screened is a website that we have just launched. How excited are you guys? Like on a scale of 1 to, 16?
I mean, finally someone on the internet talking about movies.
I know, right?
It's like it's the World Wide Web, people, and you can use it for so many things, and no one thought to talk about movies before now.
It's really upsetting.
Duh.
It's really upsetting that no one has thought to do this up to this point. No, I mean, I think the thing that's cool about Screened that we're bringing to the table here is that we're combining sort of the big database thing where you've got tons of movies and tons of actor pages and all that stuff, and also sort of the weird quirky stuff that the other whiskey sites have, here's a list of cliches that you can go in and edit, and here's all these weird movie objects you can dedicate pages to.
It's definitely one of the things that sets most of the whiskey sites apart from the rest of the internet, and this is going to ring true for Screened as well. It's the user editable database. There's nothing else quite like it for films, and it's powerful technology for the end user. Even day one here for Screened, there's already a ton of amazing stuff in there. Some great concept pages. I think even just basic layout of how you get to movies and actors and directors and the way those pages flow. It's really awesome. And then we've got you chuckleheads here too.
Yeah, and we're actually going to write about movies. We're actually going to bring you the latest and basically the most awesome movie news that's going on. We're going to review all the big movies you care about, and also some little stuff you probably don't know that you should care about. And we're doing video stuff, which is exciting.
Absolutely.
There's not really, that is actually one thing that you don't see a ton of right now is people doing kind of legitimate video coverage of movie stuff on the internet. At the Movies is about to go off the air at the end of the summer, so that's kind of gone. And, you get a random YouTube head, YouTube guys just do it, pointing a camera at themselves and then talking about a movie for 15 minutes at a time. But that's pretty much it.
Iron Man 2 does not live up to my expectations. Here's my 30-minute rant about that.
I missed it.
That's actually going to be a Screen feature.
All right, yeah, let's hear it.
Let's hear it, Matthew.
We'll talk about it later.
Close your netbook. What are you doing over there?
Put that thing down.
Come on.
We don't need you looking at the internet right now. But yeah, so I mean, we taped a few different video features for the launch here. Rory and I did a little summer movie preview where we talked about some of our most looked forward to and least looked forward to upcoming summer films. And we also did a couple of original features, just sort of looking at some archival stuff.
Setting the tone, letting people know what your tastes are like and where you're coming from. What the interplay between Rory and Navarro is going to be like, because it will be volatile.
Indeed. I hate you, Matt.
It's so awesome. I love it. I couldn't have thought of a crazier pair of people to talk about and write about movies than these two cats. So it's very exciting.
I think it's going to be very fun. And I think, you get to see a little bit of that in the other launch video we put up, Worserer, which is a concept that actually, Ryan Davis, you helped me invent.
Well, at least for the inaugural episode, I believe it was a argument that we started having
on Twitter
on Twitter about which Lethal Weapon movie was the worst. Was it 3 or 4? And, acknowledging that we both have a fondness for the Lethal Weapon series in general, but also acknowledging that, Lethal Weapons 3 and 4 are flawed, let's say.
I'm going to say detrimental to the entire series. I'm going to say that they are, in fact, a cancer upon the name Lethal Weapon.
Damning to Dick Donner's name.
Yeah, so you can watch the video. You can see our arguments well, not in favor, but against both. I personally came out on the side of Lethal Weapon 4. Rory, you not so much on Lethal Weapon 3.
Whoever wins, we lose, I think.
Yeah, we both had to watch those movies in a row, and it was not a pleasant experience. So be sure to check that out. We'll also have some other stuff coming up this week, including a little retrospective feature on the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, sort of in honor of the not-so-great remake that just came out.
We really do have a boatload of content going up this week. It's really crazy.
Ton of reviews.
Yeah, a lot.
You and I spent a lot of time reviewing movies
Just
that we
reviewing
probably
movies.
didn't even necessarily need to, but we
But
did it
they're fun,
anyway.
You know, whatever. Flex our muscles.
We like movies. I would say I love movies, but I'm pretty sure that's trademarked by someone else. So
Yeah, you can't say that.
I can't.
At least not on a podcast. Like on the street, it's okay if you
Yeah.
have like a sign or something.
Doug Benson, your check's in the mail.
If you wanted to like have a personalized license plate that said that, that'd be okay. But
Yeah.
in podcasting, no, he's got that locked down.
Well, one of the things we did was Rory and I we reviewed basically our top 5 movies of last year, just to kind of touch on some of that stuff. Because
I remember that.
I went, yeah, I would hope so, because you did it, and that if you didn't remember, that's
I don't remember that at all.
well,
This
you
is
didn't.
news to me.
You were not helpful in that regard. So I mean, Rory, do you want to talk at all about like some of your favorites from last year?
I actually spent the most money. I spent $20 on buying 500 Days of Summer on Blu-ray, which is the most I've spent on a movie in quite a while.
That's a movie that commands to be seen in high def.
It's just a weird movie that not a lot of people probably saw. It was a decent sized hit, but
Did you like it?
I liked it quite a bit actually. It was
Wow.
really weird. It was it kind of had a weird first impression, then it kind of grew on me over time, and I watched it a few more times, and I really enjoyed it.
That's super interesting to me, just because knowing of your tastes, what I do, I would have thought that you would have found it cloying and obnoxious.
I have a
which is
weird-
exactly where it landed for me,
I have
which
a-
is too bad because I like enjoy everyone involved in it,
Yeah.
but the actual movie, I just thought, just be more twee.
I have a weird sentimental streak that is my Achilles heel at times, but yeah, that movie definitely had its kind of obviously directed by a music video director. That was apparent even without knowing the background of the guy, but yeah, for some reason it kind of struck with me. And then the other ones were
You have to talk about all of them and just some of your favorites.
throw out.
What did you think about 500 Days?
I'm sort of more in your camp in that I was definitely like it was twee overload. The zippity doodah bit definitely kind of made me want to kill myself a little.
Just like
but,
we're gonna have the ironic French art house film sequence. It was
Yeah.
just
Those
like
were a little overdone.
it was just so pastiche of just
You can't reference those films without seeming a little. You're kind of stretching the bounds when you're bringing in Ingmar Bergman references into your kind of indie rom-com. It's a little much. But
Well, it's just like look at the film school cred that we have from the films that we are referencing within our romantic comedy. Let's not lie about what that movie is.
Totally.
Like, it's kind of got a bittersweet tone to it, which maybe sets it apart a little bit, but it's a rom com.
I just really like Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He's one of my favorite young actors working today, which is one of the reasons I'm really looking forward to Inception.
yeah. Inception looks so good.
Slicked down, Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah,
Love it.
it's gonna be great. You also expressed a certain fondness for Star Trek.
Yeah, totally. Star Trek was my God of the last blockbuster summers, the last few years. That movie was one of my favorites. It was. I like the fact that one of the things I pointed out in the review is that they reset the universe, but it wasn't a retcon, which is one of the things that Star Trek fans loved. Star Trek and Warcraft fans love to get all up in arms about, and I think they were just trying to do it in a way so that they couldn't. The Star Trek nerds didn't have this thing to latch on to and get obsessed about, but they just kind of redid it in a really, really interesting way, and I think that movie's superlative for an action blockbuster.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, Star Trek and horrible time, travel, time, continuum stuff is sort of par for the course. I mean, they have wrecked their timeline probably no less than 600 times at this point. So them
Sweeping it all away.
them just going in and kind of obliterating the previous history. It's like, look, now everyone's young and hot is totally fine by me. It the casting of that movie was perfect.
I just love the scene. I love that they just put on full brakes in the middle of the movie and say, and just have a scene where it's like, okay, this is not the fucking Star Trek that you know.
Yeah.
That Star Trek still exists. We're not messing with that. And it's almost like the cast turns to the audience and says, don't worry about it. The Star Trek you know and love is still there. We're not fucking with it.
It's like some
But
kind
we're
of
making this other Star Trek that kind of splinters off from it. So it's not going to all be the same. If stuff's different, we know it's okay if it's different.
Yeah,
There's still
it's-
going to be Admiral Kirk novels coming out 3 times a month. So don't worry about
it's
it.
definitely a real like turn to the camera. It's some kind of hot tub time machine moment. It's pretty awesome.
The one thing I didn't like about the movie was the Ice Planet stuff, which felt very tacked on. And like, here's the trailer moment where we have a big monster coming out.
Yeah, I mean, it was
necessary to set up Spock, obviously, but it was just kind of over the top.
I think the only thing I didn't like was Eric Bana. Like, I mean, he has that one great line where he's just like, "Hi, Christopher, I'm Nero," but like the rest of the time, whatever. He's a setup villain. He's not there to be memorable. He's there to just create conflict and be sort of menacing.
I liked his performance, though. I thought it was kind of played it.
I thought Nero was fun.
Played it right on.
There's just that great like first opening scene where it's just the just like a static close up shot of his face for a good 15 seconds. I don't know, like I found that just like as a weird establishing shot, I really enjoyed that. I'm like, okay, this guy is super, super intense.
Clearly.
Like that's all I need to know. Let's go from there.
That opening scene is like easily one of the best like
really
action
well done.
and also dramatic moments in a movie from last year. Like that, I was bawling. I'm not ashamed to say it. I was totally bawling by the end of that sequence.
It was that movie was stylistically made too. Like the laser fire and everything like that was great, but lens flare overload. It was definitely a stylistic decision to make that.
It's more light bloom than lens, but yeah,
It was
like
just all over the place. So it was really weird to see how J.J. Abrams kind of took his twist on the Star Trek universe, but it was enjoyable.
It's a big surprise. Nerds like Star Trek.
Indeed. The one that you listed that I have not seen, I don't think anyone around here has actually seen, is The Brothers Bloom. Which
I saw the Rose Bloom.
you saw it? Okay, I have not actually seen it.
It's okay. It's no Brick.
Yeah, it's no Brick. It's definitely no Brick. And it's one of those movies where I can tell that I liked it a lot, but I can tell other people will either not like it a lot or probably some people hate it, which is a weird kind of sensation to have about a movie. It's another one of those. It's kind of similar to 500 Days, where it also has kind of these classic film references. Like it's all based on kind of 8.5, and it has other references too. It's very art schooly, very kind of Wes Anderson-y.
It is that, but it's also like pure farce. It's pulling some Marx Brothers structure and kind of some style from that. But you're right, as far as like composition and just the indie film pedigree, it definitely carries some of that too. I thought it was enjoyable. Also, 100% forgettable. Like I remember watching it and thinking, oh, that's okay, but ask me anything about that movie, I couldn't.
I liked it a lot. I don't know why. It's
tell
one
you.
of those movies.
Was it Mark Ruffalo? Was that
Mark
Ruffalo's
Ruffalo's
in
in it. Adrian Brody, Rachel
Yeah.
Weisz is really good in it. Has like really good montage of Rachel Weisz and all the hobbies she's collecting and everything like that.
I've just all I know of that movie is the still shot of Rachel Weisz holding a banjo, and
Yes.
I assume that scene is probably great. Maybe at some point I'll sit down and watch the movie, but
I'll show it to you later. It's on YouTube.
that'll be great.
I guess I all I can remember about it is that it was a little bit of a disappointment because I loved Brick so much.
Have you heard about the Looper's synopsis at all? His next movie? It's Ryan Jordan. I always call him Ryan
Johnson.
Jordan, but it's Ryan Johnson. Yeah. Because a friend of mine knows him from high school. Because Brick was shot in a San Clemente high school, and he went to that high school and was one of the characters that apparently one of the characters is based on. So,
Name drop.
yeah, sorry.
Very
We'll go on
nice.
the podcast later on.
Yeah, that'll be awesome.
The first name drop of our podcast history.
And I'm sure like the first of many name drops because we know tons
so
of
many
people. Yeah. Some of my favorites, I think the most noteworthy that anyone has seen is Up. Up was by far, I think, my favorite like mainstream movie of last year. I consider it easily one of the Pixar best. Just I don't know, something about the combination of hell of bright colors and kind of big sweepy adventure and Ed Asner worked for me in a way that I was not expecting necessarily.
Another movie that had me bawling within the first 10
the
minutes.
first and the last 10 minutes.
Lord, dude.
What?
Like just the most like brutal opening of any movie.
Yeah.
Like the opening of that movie is just it's insane that's the opening of this big animated.
Well, that's the
Pixar
thing.
movie.
I was writing the review of that, and I was actually trying to research has miscarriage been handled in like a kid-oriented movie ever, and I couldn't find anything.
So brutal.
Yeah, but
And that movie's weird because I was talking about Brothers Bloom. Like I know
Yeah.
other people who would not like that movie, but I cannot imagine anybody. Up is like the perennial, the apotheosis of the 5-star movie, because I cannot imagine any single person going to that movie and not having like a fantastic time. I think there's one dude on Rotten Tomatoes who gave it a pass, and the comments for that review are just like, "You are the stupidest person in the history of the world."
There are reviews out there from outs that are just sort of like to it. Like there are people that weren't affected, but I think that's also like there are people out there who are not willing to just fall in love with everything Pixar does at this point.
Sure.
You know, like some people I think are actively like looking for reasons to just kind of say, you know what, I want them to do something that's not just their usual, you know, high adventure with a sort of, you know, kind of fluffy message in there kind of thing.
It's not my favorite Pixar movie. It's really well made, and there's a lot of funny stuff in it. But it's I don't know. It's, like where that movie goes as far as like what the story of it actually is really bizarre.
It is. It's totally
super
out
weird.
there.
It's like Gilliam-esque in the weirdness of what the content of this movie actually like. You know, talk about messages and, you know, the performances and kind of what the character interactions are really about. But when you like, if you just look at like storyboard of here's what's going on in this movie, is this giant bird and there's this old adventurer and he has talking dogs and this guy has a floating house and they're on this crazy plateau. It's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, it's so bizarre. It's just it's a bit much to wrap your head around at times.
I think the talking dog worried a lot of people, even including me, when I saw it in the trailer, like, oh, Pixar's doing talking animals now. That's great. Here comes Marmaduke.
Or
But
Jar
I have a
Jar.
question for you. Do you think that the squeaky voiced alpha was? Do you think that was like in the script, or do you think that's something that like the sound engineers like got drunk one night and started fucking around with it, and like this is what came out? Or you think like no that like from the word go, this is going to be the comic hook for this character?
I think it was because I don't think there was anything else really to that character other than just sort of like funny voice stuff.
And I think they knew they had to twist that talking, because the talking dog in Disney, or talking anthropomorphized animals in Disney, has been the long kind of like people kind of groan when they see it now. But Pixar's never really done it except for Ratatouille, but that was kind of central.
and Finding Nemo.
Yeah, true enough.
Yeah.
But I think the talking dog, especially, people, at least I was kind of worried about it. Like,
Well, it's one thing to have like, you know, within the species dialogue, but it's the when it crosses over, it's when people are talking to animals,
right,
that it gets weird.
So they had to tweak it a little bit.
It was a fun scientific explanation for that I liked, and it was the fact that like the voice of Doug is one of the directors of that movie is sort of like that guy definitely has a future in voice acting if he wants to. But I will say my absolute favorite movie of last year, I don't know if anyone else saw it, was this British movie called In the Loop. It is this political sort of farce starring, it's like Steve Coogan's in it, James Gandolfini, David Rash, otherwise known as Sledgehammer, as well as like this guy Peter Capaldi, who's sort of like a mostly a TV actor in Britain, who is the foulest, most just angry, snarling man I have seen on film in quite some time.
And who's the girl?
Anna Klumsky.
That's right, Anna
Anna Klumsky is in it.
Yes.
Adult
and
Anna
looking
Klumsky.
hot.
Oh God, she was hot in Blood Car. If anybody saw that,
I have not seen Blood Car. Tell me about Blood Car.
Oh,
the
Blood
car
Car.
bloods people.
No, it's a car that runs on blood.
It's a car that runs on blood. It was made a few years ago, I think, in like Georgia or something like that. Very, very low budget horror film where this guy tries to invent a car that runs on wheatgrass, and Anna Klumsky is the woman who she runs like the wheatgrass stand. But he accidentally drops some blood into his machine, and that
Gives it a taste for the.
it gives it a taste for blood, and the car starts running on blood, so he just starts slaughtering people and throwing them into the car.
This is a movie, obviously, after Patton Oswalt's deathbed sketch, these people started, like, you know, add noun, something, death car, blood car.
Wasn't it also like a like this is supposed to be some sort of like socio-political commentary?
Oh yeah, on oil consumption.
Yeah.
But that, you know, nobody really cares about that when you're talking about a car that runs on people, you know.
And My Girl.
And My Girl, yeah. Yeah, and she spends her days in her little wheatgrass booth drawing pornographic pictures, which is just it's hilarious to see Anna Klumsky in that cast in that kind of role.
Well, she's very good at In the Loop, as is everybody.
My favorite character in The Loop though was the like Anna Klumsky's snotty male counterpart. He's
the total suck up dude.
I can't tell you the actor's name, but he's currently got a guest role on The Office.
Yeah,
He's he does like Toady better than anyone I've ever
Yeah.
seen. Like, just there is a
He just needles.
honesty to it of just like the smiley glad hand, but just so hateful on the
God.
inside. It's just snide and just wanting to take everyone else down a notch, whatever he can do to get himself up. Yeah, he has a very specific tone and skill set. Like, I've only seen him ever basically play that character, but he nails it.
It's, and that sometimes, an actor is just built to do that. Like, Danny Trejo probably isn't cut out for romantic comedy work, but, when you put him in a role where he's
Not
just
yet.
looking like a badass,
Just because no one will give him a chance. Yeah.
I don't know how his romantic chops would be. I don't know.
Don't hold him down.
All right. I'm not fucking with the wrong Mexican.
I was gonna say, we'll see when Machete comes out.
Indeed.
There's obviously a lot of romantic interest in that. So.
Yeah. But In the Loop, it's actually based on like a TV series on the BBC. It's like called The Thick of It, which is you don't need to see to like the movie. It's purely just about war and the stupidity behind it.
It's just like bad bureaucracy. It's very strange Lovian.
A lot of low-level ministers like doing things they probably shouldn't be doing and swearing at each other nonstop.
Just petty politics.
The dialogue is amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
Foul.
Who directed that? Was that Mike Nichols' movie?
No, it's someone I'd never heard of. It's like Armando something or other.
Armando.
Yeah.
One name.
But it's the guy who created the TV series it's based on, and it demands to be watched. Any favorites, Lopez, from last year? You didn't do any reviews, but thought you'd like to talk about something you liked.
Sure. Black Dynamite came out last year, right?
Yes.
Dynamite. Yeah, that was definitely my favorite movie of last year. That and A Serious Man.
Serious Man is very good.
Yeah.
It's I don't know how to describe my feeling for it, because when I walked out of it, I was kind of angry. There's just something about the sheer brutality, like the good-natured brutality of that movie and the things it does to him that, like, at some point I felt exhausted by it. Like, just the amount of horrible things that happened to the dude in that movie, and, like, just the way, like, everyone is so cheery about the horrible things they're doing to him. Like, at some point I just felt like it was all a little pointless. But at the same time, knowing the way the Coen brothers grew up in the Midwest, in a neighborhood just like that, and their sort of their exploration of just kind of Jewish culture of that time is very interesting, and it's well acted, and it's funny, and it's just don't see that movie if you don't expect to be in kind of a cloudy mood by the end of it, because it's definitely
Good date flick then.
it's a great date flick.
Black Dynamite was really good too, but I think it technically came out at the end of 2008-ish. But it was kind of a rolling release. Like, it was never
Well, yeah, it was doing like
never a wide.
the festivals and stuff. I liked Black Dynamite better as a concept than as a film. Like, I'd say the first 2/3 I enjoyed, and then I should have been like so jazzed up once Richard Nixon showed up and started karate fighting Black Dynamite.
It was just so
but I was just like, like that movie should have been like 88 minutes long.
Yeah.
But it also, within the first 5 minutes, they quote my favorite line from my favorite Rudy Ray Moore movie. So I was like, okay, all in. You got me.
And it was shockingly well crafted too. Like, they totally matched that whole. It was a little obvious at times. Like, when he stands up real quick and the boom mic comes in, I was like, okay, yeah, I get the joke. But it was still.
But it's not really like, it's kind of an obvious joke, but they're not overstating how poor the film craft was in those blaxploitation movies in the 70s.
That's true.
They were that bad. Stuff like that did happen.
So I wonder how hard
Like, there's a little
is.
bit of the kind of like the self-awareness that's not genuine to the genre, but as far as the actual craft of it, I could nail it.
I just wonder how hard it is to be intentionally bad at making a movie when you're actually a good filmmaker and you have to be like, I want to be intentionally bad. Like, how painful that must be at times, or if everybody's just kind of laughing along with it.
It seems like the kind of movie where there's definitely, like, they are celebrating what they are doing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't imagine that they had any issue, like, saying, what if we just read this line like it is, there's a cue card in front of you and you have no idea what's going on. Just do this right now.
And you got to know the rules to be able to break them.
Exactly.
Well, one movie I've been talking up around the office is OSS 117, which segue, but
Vinny watched that and came back with a glowing review of it as well. So
It's
on your recommendation, no
it's
less.
very Black Dynamite-esque in that it's kind of a send-up of 50s spy movies made in the same kind of, like, all the car scenes are rear projected and stuff like that. It's all shot on film. It's all kind of very straight zooms, no Steadicam shots and things like that. But it's just straight up hilarious.
Now this is a French film series. So you're talking about the first one, which you saw, which is on Netflix right now.
Well, it's based on these old 50s movies.
Right.
Like 6 of them. They redid it as kind of an Austin Powers, Black Dynamite-esque comedy. It's on Netflix streaming. You can watch it on your Xbox.
It's Austin Powers without the deluge of awful pop culture references.
It's very played fairly straight, but the main guy is just this kind of chauvinistic, arrogant a-hole spy who doesn't understand how
language.
Yeah, watch yourself there now.
It's really, really good. I highly recommend it.
And then the new one is sort of out, and it started in limited release this past week, and I think it's starting to go a little bit wider next week.
It's not. I don't think that's how they're playing. I think they're doing limited releases around the country,
right.
So you kind of have to look at the website and see when it's coming around. So it's kind of that road show kind of thing. It'll be here next week. I'm really looking forward to it.
Cool. And then if you don't catch it, I'm sure it'll be on Netflix in like a month anyway. So
maybe. Yeah.
Those movies tend to be that way. Ryan, any favorites from last year you want to talk about real quick before we move along?
I really liked Star Trek. I really liked House of the Devil.
Ah, yes.
I occasionally go on. I have a weird relationship with horror films,
Right.
And I'll occasionally just go on real benders and just watch a whole thick of them all at once.
Sure.
That's
not mind damaging or anything.
Of the ones that I watched, I really enjoyed that one. And then the director of that, I can't remember his last name.
Ty West.
Ty West. He also was, I guess, the uncredited director of Cabin Fever 2.
Oh, okay.
So
is that like an Alan Smithy thing, or is it?
I think it's kind of like he directed it and then it got taken from him or something. I'm not sure the full story on it, but it's close.
Yeah.
In tone. Like there are moments in and I actually kind of recommend Cabin Fever 2, and I didn't even really
I remember that movie. It was actually pretty good.
I didn't even care for the first Cabin Fever that much, but the second one has a good rompy tone to it and is gross. But it's fun. It's a fun horror movie, and I appreciate. I feel like horror comedy is a really difficult balance to strike, and I think Cabin Fever 2 does a decent job of that as far as genre stuff goes.
Now, House of the Devil, the thing about House of the Devil that I found was that like it is incredible at creating like this just sort of unbelievable sense of dread around everything that's happening in the movie for a really long time when the main girl in the movie is not actually really doing anything.
There is a scene in the middle of that movie. You're right, because there's a whole bunch of setup, and then there's the middle of the movie where nothing happens. Nothing at all happens.
But it all feels super menacing.
There's a scene where the camera is sitting in a living room, and you can see the frame of this doorway like into the kitchen, and it's set up in such a way that you can just tell that something could jump out of anywhere. She keeps on walking out of frame and being gone for like 10 seconds and then walking back in. And every moment you're expecting something horrible to happen. And it's just like a good couple solid minutes of just pure buildup, and then nothing happens. You have to just stop and go back and go, oh, God! There is no release. And so at the end of it, you're just that much more wound up over absolutely nothing. It's as far as an homage to late 70s, early 80s horror films, the satanic cult scare of that era, and tapping into that, and just the quality of the film grain, and just the way the opening credits work and the pacing of it and the flow of it. It's a better made one of those movies than was ever made in its time, but still totally true to the era and the genre. It's pretty brilliant.
Yeah. Just as a quick go around here, we also Rory and I also did our least favorite movies of 2009. Rory, you were pretty down on 2012.
Yeah, that was a really, really bad movie. There are other movies that were worse probably, but 2012 looked like it should have just been a romp in the park, kind of, hey, watch shit blow up, but it wound up being 2 hours and 40 fucking minutes long.
Would you agree that it's the last 40 minutes that ruins that movie?
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
like I think it's fine as a big dumb Independence Day style disaster movie until they get to the boats. Oh, and then it becomes about social commentary and all this other bullshit, and just like, oh, come on.
Roland Emmerich is not meant for that sort of thing. Like, when you watch a Roland Emmerich movie, you want disaster bukkake. Like, you just want that shit to not stop and ever.
All over my face. And there's like this, again, there's also the long first third of it where it's all about what's his face, John Cusack and his family, and Amanda Peet, and like, I don't care. Like, I want them to die, basically. Why are you setting up these characters that I basically hate.
See, but that's par for the course again for the Emmerich
you
film
have to
of
do
like
it,
you frame the big crazy disaster around
A family.
some small personal story. Yes, usually a family.
But I man, it 2 hours and 40 minutes. Like, what is the deal with Transformers 2 being that long? Like, these movies.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
They don't require that because the parts you want from that movie move at such a pace that time just goes by. But
I want the edit. I want the director's cut, but it's not the director's cut. It's not longer. It's like.
But the shit where
half an hour short.
people talk is not why you go to see that movie. I'm not interested in any of the backstory of the Allspark. I'm not interested in John Cusack's family or the social commentary in 2012. Just shut the hell up. Fucking just kill everything. Just do it. Just destroy the planet. Throw a wrecking ball into that thing. That's all I want out of that movie.
So 2012 is really bad. I think a disappointing one is Paranormal Activity. Like, I really did like Blair Witch. I like those kind of found footage scary movies, but that just wound up being really lame.
That movie was conceptually okay for parts, but the second they started getting into all that weird haunting demon shit with the girl where she's looking it up on the internet, it's like, you're being possessed by this demon, and then there's the psychic or whoever it is that comes in, he's like, I can't deal with this, there's a guy I know, he'll be here in 3 days, I gotta go. It's like, okay.
A lot of manufactured. Like, the boyfriend was just a jerk just to extend the running time, and it was
just not so great.
I haven't seen it.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, dude.
I'm sorry. Well, let me guess. Let me tell you. There's a ghost.
I kind of wanted to see it. I'd heard some because I really liked Cloverfield. So
and I like Cloverfield as well. But this movie is definitely not nearly as good as that.
I'm just looking at some 2009 releases now and thinking of stuff that I saw and what I liked. And
we'll come back to you last.
Okay,
Lopez.
Yeah.
Worst movie of 2009.
God. I don't know. Transformers 2 was last year, right? I tried.
That
to
was
forget
definitely
that.
Transformers.
Yeah. I'm so venomously angry at that movie, most because I paid over $20 to go to the theaters to see it.
Wow.
What did you see it? IMAX or something? Or?
No, I was in Japan at the time. And,
Oh.
I drove about 30 miles, paid highway fees, dinner, and then the movies themselves in Japan are over $20 to go on a
Yikes.
Friday or Saturday night. So I think all told, that movie cost me about $50.
Ugh.
Yeah. So
And it was weird because the first one was decent. I actually didn't mind the first one.
I didn't like it at all. And I mean, by all means, Transformers 2 was a far worse movie. But the first Transformers movie to me is missing any of. I mean, let's face it. Transformers as an entertainment does not hold up. I don't know if you've tried to go back and watch the cartoon stuff or the animated movie or any of that stuff. No, it is not watchable anymore. And the thing that, and actually, I'll say right now, my worst movie of last year was G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
And I absolutely positively despised everything that happened in that movie.
It killed my soul.
And I think the bigger issue between those two movies and what they turned into was that they took themselves too seriously for being stupid action movies. Mm-hmm. It's like G.I. Joe is a terrible premise for a movie. It these sort of random military badasses that all have these strange code names and this mysterious terrorist organization, Cobra. It's all super cheesy. If they're gonna go that way, it needs to be a super for kids movie, or it needs to do that sort of Land of the Lost thing where it is actively making fun of the source material. Which I didn't really like Land of the Lost, but I at least appreciated the fact that it knew how stupid what it was based on was.
Stephen Sommers has a really weird trajectory as a director. The first Mummy movie was fine.
Great.
But then
it was fun.
Here's Van Helsing. Here's G.I. Joe.
Here's Mummy 2. Yeah.
Oh my God. What do you... he makes money, obviously.
Deep Rising is one of my favorite, sort of action horror comedies of all time. That movie, Treat Williams is amazing in that movie. Wes Studi, all these great character actors are in it. Digimon Hansu is in it for 5 minutes and dies horribly. It's great.
Black Eye always dies.
But yeah, G.I. Joe, man, that movie is just a rampant mess and just.
Inexplicably, worse than the sum of its bad parts. The parts are all terrible.
Well, Channing Tatum really is. I mean, that's the knife in the back of that thing.
When you make your movie around Channing Tatum, you are asking for.
And Marlon Wayans is really terrible in it. Speaking of Joseph Gordon-Levitt, him as Cobra Commander is
weird.
Is inexplicable.
Yeah. He needed a little money. He needed to make that mortgage payment.
I guess, but man, that
Scarlet was terrible.
I was gonna say I don't think you guys go deep enough into genre films to know like what is redeemable about these movies, because I'm just again going through the '09 releases, and I bet none of y'all saw Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li.
yes.
So fuck you guys. You don't know what you don't know what bad. You haven't seen Chris Klein trying to be broody and swarthy for 90 minutes. So you don't know what bad acting is.
I should preface this by saying that, yeah, I mean, we weren't doing this job in 2009, so we didn't necessarily see every horrible movie. Like, none of us saw Old Dogs. Let's just throw that out there right now. None of us saw that. So we're just going off what we have seen, and what I saw. G.I. Joe made me the most angry.
Giving you some perspective.
That's fair. No, I'm more than willing to bet that Legend of Chun-Li was far worse than anything we saw. I've seen the clips of Chris Klein. He looks amazing.
Amazing how bad that movie is. I'm surprised that Zombieland didn't come up on anyone's best list.
It was. That was my fifth favorite movie of last year.
It's fun.
Yeah, I really like that movie.
It's a fun movie. I had like zero expectations from it because I was kind of burned out on zombies at that point. But I saw this is an entertaining ass movie. It's just like I don't know if you guys like watched any of the like making of and stuff, but that was supposed to be a TV series. Like that was
really
like up to the girls. Up to the point where they first meet the girls and the girls con them out of all their stuff and drive away with their truck.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be like the pilot. Like that would be the end of the pilot episode.
Interesting.
But they instead cause they are having trouble getting it made into a TV series, so they instead said, "Hey, let's make it into a movie."
That also
That's really weird. Like you'd think that'd be like, hey, we can't do it for this budget. Let's make it 10 times more expensive and make it into a movie.
well, it also sort of fits why it was like 80-something minutes long. Like it's they definitely like, okay, let's just give this thing an ending.
But you could even see stuff like with the whole kill of the week thing. Like okay, that would have been a recurring segment or piece of the TV series if that had ended
as it is like it's just sort of it's kind of interesting how it just sort of halts the movie to do that once and then never really brings it up again other than like in passing. So yeah, no, I like Zombieland a great deal. That it's just super efficient at what it does, and I think the zombie comedy is definitely where zombie films are kind of at right now, because I don't think anyone
it should be. The social commentary of zombies is kind of played out. We know.
It's like the last few George Romero movies haven't exactly been top flight either. So
next one might be interesting.
I'm not super hopeful, but we'll see.
They're really weird at this point. They're just like very social commentary-esque. Like we're gonna set up these. Not that they weren't before. Like Dawn of the Dead was a really. All those movies are basically social commentaries in weird ways, but he doesn't always have the skills to make it.
Yeah, I mean, like Land of the Dead was a big thing about like classism and stuff, but like it was so just fumbly in the way it handled it, and also John Leguizamo.
Yeah,
so that did not come together. I don't know. This movie just looks like Hatfields versus the McCoys, but with zombies, and maybe that's good. But I'm a little more sketchy on Romero's ability to keep that stuff going at this point. Ryan, did you find something?
Stuff that I like or hate?
Hate.
Or both. Well, I'll say something that I like that I forgot that came out last year, and again, this will be a little divisive, but Taken. If you just want,
I really did like Taken.
Okay,
angry, murdery movie. Like
I like angry, murdery movies
like that. Like just coming out of the Luc Besson French action factory as it did. I found it compelling in just how gnarly everything was.
Liam Neeson is really, really good in that movie. Just as like a ball of hate.
Oh yeah, just like his calm rage is fantastic. X-Men Origins Wolverine is maybe one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
It's very bad.
It's real bad.
It's cruel.
I would go that far.
How bad it is.
It was bad.
It's so bad, especially if you have any care for the characters.
Still
or
made
$180
million.
God, yeah, which was going to bring us to a great number more X-Men movies.
Well, actually, their X-Men First Class is supposed to come out, and that's going to be by the director
Matthew Vaughn.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting at least. I wasn't a huge fan of Kick-Ass, but I think it should be interesting.
I enjoyed Drag Me to Hell, but then I also really like it when Raimi does his weird, goofy genre stuff.
Totally. Yeah, he is sort of a master at that stuff, and that movie is a ridiculous good time for what it is.
It is, and I love the way it ends. I love like that movie. Just it sets out to do something, and then it accomplishes it, and then it's over, and you're like, awesome.
Yep,
pull no punches. Good for
Absolutely
you.
not.
Sam
Raimi
and the Devil Goat.
I am secretly very happy he's not involved in Spider-Man stuff anymore. After Spider-Man 3, I'm officially done with that for a while.
Moon was pretty good.
Moon was one of my favorites as well. God, yeah, Moon. The review I put up of that movie is a little weird in the sense that like it's hard to know exactly what is a spoiler for that movie because the big twist happens like 20 minutes in.
Yeah.
So I consider that
And
more
it's a big twist that you can
kind of see coming.
well that you can figure out even before the characters in the film figure it out.
Yeah.
Like they're a little slow on the draw on some of that stuff.
It's in the trailer too. Like,
it's kind of in the trailer, and it's I think it's safe to say that it's okay to talk about the fact that there are two Sam Rockwells in that movie, and they are talking to each other for a long time, and he's really good as both versions of that character.
Yeah.
Like he's actually he gives what I would call an incredibly subtle performance for Sam Rockwell, because that's not really what he's known for necessarily. Speaking of which, perhaps we should talk about Iron Man, in which Sam Rockwell is very much not subtle and is in fact no way a subtle movie.
Iron Man 2.
Iron Man 2, yes, specifically Iron Man 2, the one
No,
that just
I'm
came
only
out.
here to talk about Iron Man.
I would like to talk about Jeff Bridges' performance of Obadiah Stane. No, I want to talk about Iron Man 2. We all pretty much saw it at this point, except Lopez.
Sorry.
Oh,
I was
Except
at a
for-
barbecue cook-off.
you're gonna get spoiled. I hope you know.
Yeah,
I know.
we're going to spoil the hell out of you on this one.
It's okay.
Iron Man 2, fun movie.
Yeah, it's all right.
Agreed?
Yeah.
All around? Yeah, it was good. I don't think I expected much because just reading some of the early buzz on it and just sort of looking at what superhero movie sequels tend to be, I kind of expected to just get lost in what it was trying to do and just stop caring at some point. But there's a lot to be said for Robert Downey Jr. as just a complete megalomaniacal asshole.
No, he keeps that mood together.
He definitely carries it.
I didn't buy quite the. I know the character is an alcoholic. Basically, I didn't quite buy the weird feudal kind of. I'm kind of lost in it. The whole like sickness thing. Kind of just stopped halfway through. Like, oh, here we have a solution now, and it's over.
It's an issue where like, an Iron Man is as far as the character goes, it's tough to peg down. He doesn't really have a Joker, Like,
Yeah.
he doesn't have a really well defined foil. Like his conflicts, and even in the movie, it kind of plays out like, who's the villain? Is it Whiplash? Is it Justin Hammer? Is it the U.S. government? Is it Gary Shandling? Is it Palladium? Is it his alcoholism? Like,
Yeah.
there's like a million different things that could be, and it never really commits to any one of them really being like the main threat.
Yeah.
And it kind of, which in a way kind of fits, where it's just like, all these things are happening and it's overwhelming for him and he can't really deal with it.
Yeah, Tony Stark is
kinda
the
just
biggest enemy of Tony Stark, is the message.
And he kind of just has, his big embarrassing breakdown.
Yeah. But, at the same time, like, there's enough fun, ridiculous Tony Stark, just like being a giant dick and Playboy, stuff to be fun. Like, it never gets too far into that. Like,
it's never too dark and too
Yeah.
angsty, which is good because like Iron Man works because it's fun and bubbly and he's just kind of he's the likable dick.
yeah. And how about Mickey Rourke? Just for a second, let's talk about how Mickey Rourke, how ridiculous he is in that movie, because Mickey Rourke to me didn't necessarily want to be there, so it seems like he was just kind of ramping up the like, let's just give my character as many weird tics and like mannerisms and whatever else as we possibly can.
like he
I
actually,
don't think he knew he was being filmed.
Oh yeah,
I believe that it was just Mickey Rourke relaxing at home and Jon Favreau snuck a camera in there. And
Well, he
that's what
said
we
he
got.
actually like went to Russian prisons to research his role. He just suggested like my character needs to have a bird and stuff like that. Like he tried to build up a character, but in the end, it's more of a character with like quirks than an actual.
well, because there's not really much in the script for him to latch onto,
Yeah,
because like he's just sort of
a
evil
guy who
for the
hates-
sake of being evil.
Yeah.
He hates him because Tony Stark needs someone to hate him in that movie. And so, like, I appreciated the fact that he just kind of made it ridiculous, because Whiplash is not really that intimidating of a threat otherwise. He's just
Yeah,
sort of
it's
like,
like, just fly away.
here's
Fly away.
this angry cybernetic leather daddy that's coming around, whipping stuff. And it's like, great.
It's like if you're Iron Man, just fly 20 feet up and shoot him, and you're
Yeah,
it's
totally.
over. So
But, I thought I had fun with him. I really wish they had left the Avengers stuff out of that movie.
it was a little distracting. Yeah.
I know that it sort of was going to be a necessity because that's pretty much what every Marvel movie is going to be for the next couple of years until that Avengers movie comes out.
Yeah.
But I'll say this, at least Scarlett Johansson had one really, really good action scene in that movie.
I thought she better justified her presence in that film than Mickey Rourke did.
Yeah.
I
She
thought
didn't overplay it. Like Scarlett Johansson at this point can be like in
like
the
super
island-
pouty, like
Yeah.
bombshelly. Like
Yeah.
there's some of that they don't overdo it. And then she is in the crazy skin tight costume for that one scene, and she kicks ass in that one scene.
Yeah.
And then also Jon Favreau gives himself like a decently both comic and also kind of ass kicky scene there at the same time. It's like it's a good back and forth between those two in that moment.
I think that's what makes that scene work, though, is that like if it was just Scarlett Johansson running around doing all her weird, like, sort of jujitsu-y, badass stuff, then it might be like, okay, well, this is fine. But the cut back to Jon Favreau feudally fighting this one guy for like 5 minutes is what makes it so
But
great.
it's kind of a hard hitting fight. Like those guys are punching each other real good. It was kind of a surprising balance that he found there for that one little. And really, his that character, Happy Hogan's only real appreciable moment in that movie.
Yeah, but for what it is, it's a lot of fun. I think it kind of blows its load early, the way that like the first movie kind of did as well.
Anticlimactic for sure.
It has that weird like middle movie in a trilogy feel. Like they held some stuff back for Iron Man 3 in 3D. Whenever they make that, it just felt really kind of, I don't know, busy but light at the same time. And
Yeah.
Gary Shandling we were talking about his car this morning. He has had work done.
Oh yeah,
He's a little lifty.
It's a little stretchy,
a little tight.
but
But I'm happy to see Gary Shandling in anything. I
and
don't care how weird his face looks.
and that scene in the Senate chamber is hilarious. Like that's one of the that movie that whole scene is just absolute comedic gold for what
Yeah.
it is. And
I did like the RoboCop 2 montage of all the fake Iron Man.
yes, that was great.
You know what? I had nailed it before. You're right. That is the point of reference. Is RoboCop 2.
I barely remember RoboCop 2. Is that bad? I
No, I remember that scene vividly, and it's great where they're trying to make the RoboCop 2s, and he pulls his brain out, and
I remember that now that you mention it. Oh god.
RoboCop 2 gets a bad rap. I'm just going to say that right. I know everyone loves RoboCop 1, but RoboCop 2
it's fine.
Underappreciated.
It's fine. It's
Nuke.
certainly better than RoboCop 3.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
We won't talk about that.
But Iron Man, fun movie, very enjoyable for what it is, and wild success at the box office. Made something like well over $100 million over the weekend.
133.
Yeah.
I'll agree with you, Alex, just before we move on from this. And it's a thing that bothered me going into it, and I feel I'm worried for Marvel films. Their unrelenting focus on this Avengers movie that they seem to think is like gonna be the apex of all of this. I just don't know that anyone gives a shit. I don't know that. I think that they have convinced themselves that the Avengers movie is going to be a big deal.
Yeah.
But like most of the people that are in Avengers are not they're not good enough to be in their own movie. And if they're good enough to be in their own movie, how do you make an interesting movie about all of them?
Well, I mean, so they've obviously established Iron Man as an interesting character. They've, Tony Stark has wooed the public, but I'm a little bit sketchy on how they're going to make Thor interesting.
And that's the thing is, it's become a weird development process, I think, because they would not make a Thor movie unless it was in the service of this Avengers movie.
Yeah. And it's like same with Captain America. Like I'm sure at some point someone would say, "Let's make a Captain America movie."
They've been trying to do that for a while. So like Cap, I'll kind of give a little bit of a pass, but the Thor one really sticks out to me as like, really Thor?
I just don't know if I want to watch a Captain America movie. Like I was never the biggest fan of that character in the comics. Like I think he's interesting in certain storylines, but as a movie, I don't know. Like I just feel like it's maybe just a hair too antiquated a character to really put into a modern action blockbuster.
Yeah, but Hugo Weaving is Red Skull.
Yes, I'm with you on that. And Toby,
like you don't even need to put makeup on him.
Yeah,
just have him make that grimace face, Agent Smith grimace face.
Yeah.
That's it. He is Red Skull.
You see Wolfman?
I did not see.
Oh, he's really good. Just has a Scottish brogue coming. He talks better than a lot of actors can emote.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's super great, and all I really want is his like Scully face doing the one good part from Matrix Revolutions where he just starts laughing maniacally. That's thing. That's the only good part of that movie, and I would love to see him with the skull makeup on doing that.
I think the Avengers is probably going to key in on Samuel L. Jackson a lot more than people probably think at this point. Yeah, Iron Man will be it, and Thor and Captain America and stuff. But
maybe Hulk.
Maybe Hulk as who knows what he'll be. But I really think they're trying to build up Samuel L. Jackson as like the key component. Maybe I don't know how he's going to work out, but I really think they're going to try and tie it all around.
Is Joss Whedon still attached to that? There's talk of him.
There was
in
talk. I don't know if
talks,
it's been
if he's
solidified
locked
at this
in yet,
point.
no.
Yeah. But yeah, Avengers 2012. We have more single movies to watch between now and then.
Short time frame to really develop that kind of a film, though. 2 years, like they do the Transformers movies in 2 years, and they're always like, it's barely enough time to get them done. Like if you're really gonna do,
But they've got different creative teams working on each of these. They've got,
that's true enough. Yeah,
they've got Kenneth Branagh working on Thor, and do we know who's working on Cap?
I don't think they've said exactly yet,
So
but
they're attaching actors to
Kenneth
it.
Branagh is the only reason I'm actually interested in Thor, because I'm sort of blown away by him taking that one on.
Yeah.
I tend to agree that and it's the right fit for the flowery language that Thor tends to enjoy.
It could be.
It's an
be a good
interesting
fit.
it's an interesting fit, and it's definitely what makes that potentially compelling.
Well, so now that we're into the realm of 2010, we've reviewed quite a few movies from this year, just to kind of establish ourselves as like, here's what we think of movies. I thought there was some relevance to that. So maybe we should just kind of talk about some of our favorite, or at least most memorable movies of 2010, because we've seen a lot of them now, and it would be good to kind of discuss that a little bit. So Rory.
I'm still a little bit scarred by Girl with a Dragon Tattoo. That movie was really, really good, but also really, really rapey.
Yeah, there's definitely a rapey element to that
Ooh.
that is not in the advertisements for that film.
Ooh, yeah, it's pretty brutal. It's actually interesting because the original novel that it's based on in Swedish was called Men Who Hate Women, and
Which you cannot call a movie that in
cannot call a
English,
movie that,
or a
and
book for that matter.
expect it to make money. So they changed the name, and it became this like weird, like the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo is like a very exotic kind of almost porny kind of titillating name.
Yeah,
And it's really, really well done. It's about 2.5 hours long. It's subtitled in Swedish, but it definitely aspires to be kind of the new Silence of the Lambs, but brutal rape
Yeah.
scenes that are just really off-putting. Like,
and that movie's
wow.
that movie's about a computer hacker, right? Like that's the central character. She's like a hacker, sort of gothy kind of Hot Topic looking chick.
That's the weird thing about it, because it's actually more about this detective or this investigative reporter who is investigating this disappearance of somebody who disappeared like 40 years ago, and nobody knows what happened to her. So it's kind of looking into that, and this girl is hacking into his computer and finding out all his files and stuff, just for her own, curiosity at that point. But so the first half of the movie is like these two people who don't know each other at all. Her story, where she's like being molested by her parole officer, and his story, he's off trying to solve this crime. And it's only about the last hour or so that they really come together and start working together. So there's weird, long, kind of side-by-side stories, which is another reason that the title is so weird, because it's really more about this detective guy. But they already made two more of them. It was a trilogy of novels. They've already made the second and third. I think they're already all came out in Europe. So they'll actually, I think
They're talking about doing American remakes, at least for the first one.
yeah, and that'll be bad.
Well,
maybe it'll be good. I don't know. But
I mean, they've talked about like maybe having David Fincher or something do that movie,
you can
but
do it, but like I don't see the value in remaking a movie 2 years after it came out in Europe. I really don't. Like 4 years, whatever.
well, I mean, and I mean, if you want to talk about that, I mean, a perfect example of remakes sort of being kind of crazy
Funny
is
Games.
no Death at a Funeral.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Which Funny Games actually is also a good example of like, but why would you have Michael Haneke make the same movie again, just with different American
shot for
actors?
shot, yeah.
Yeah, that was a really weird one, but yeah, Death at a Funeral, which whatever, not a great movie by any stretch, like a pretty lousy comedy, but the fact that it's based on a UK comedy that's also not so great from like 2007 is just kind of baffling to me.
English
that
language.
And Neil LaBute made that movie,
Yeah, the new one.
the new one, yeah,
urban
Neil-
one. It
yeah.
It was
Frank Oz that did the first
original
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird talent behind those movies.
It's just a strange trend to see like that we're making stuff that's like that recent.
I'm just thrilled to see that Neil LaBute is where he deserves to be.
After The Wicker Man.
Fucking hate Neil LaBute. I've never liked Neil LaBute.
I will steadfastly defend In the Company of Men and Your Friends and Neighbors as entirely watchable awful movies.
Rated R for like I remember in The Company of Men it was rated R, even though it doesn't really have a lot of cursing in it. It's just so intense that
Well,
they
the
decided-
subject matter is just so like just antagonistic
Yeah.
and just like dark. But yeah, at the same time, Neil LaBute now has reduced himself to Wicker Man, and like was it Lakeview Terrace was the last
Oh
movie?
my, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
he made that
wow,
one
I
as
didn't
well.
know that.
Which is funny that like none of the racial tension stuff from that movie found its way into Death at a Funeral at all. So whatever, that movie is a pile of garbage. But remakes, they're coming. Fast and Furious.
Oh, remakes.
Look forward to them.
We have a
They're
little
remaking Fast and Furious. About time.
Yes.
But speaking of remakes, we have a feature coming up on that too as well.
We do. Remake rematch. In fact, it's something that you came up with, where you are pitting original films against their remakes, and taking different categories, different things about each one.
We're just trying to pick which ones comes out on top. It's kind of a lighthearted thing.
So look for the first episode of that very, very soon. Yeah. I believe you will be doing Yojimbo versus A Fistful of Dollars versus Last Man Standing.
The best of the three, obviously.
Oh, clearly, yeah. Bruce Willis.
A little Walter Hill action for that ass.
Yeah, totally. Bruce Willis in a Akira Kurosawa movie. Yes.
So I saw Greenberg yesterday, actually, which I found. I know you've seen it too.
Yeah, I've seen it. This movie's great.
It's really, really interesting movie. I'm still trying to get my head around it. I actually went to see it here at the 4-Star Theater on Clement. Very, very tiny. They had Iron Man 2 next door.
That's a good, weird, small theater.
Yeah.
Movies, and I like the 4-Star.
And it was weird because this guy and this woman, older, like 50-ish couple, came in, and I was sitting in the front row, and they were right behind me. And this woman starts singing along to the opening song. The guy is like clapping when Ben Stiller's name comes up.
That's
so I haven't
weird.
seen. I am phobic about people who talk at the movie theater. I really hate it. It doesn't happen as often as I would think. Now that I'm actually
you were dating a girl for a while there that would not stop doing that, as I recall.
It was mostly when we were like in our house watching stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just really bizarre. I had to move to the back of the theater. I hadn't had that happen in a while because I can't concentrate on movies when there's a dude. He had that awful laugh, that awful movie theater laugh that you hate. That, and he would laugh about everything that even was remotely not amusing at all. So,
for what's worth, I didn't enjoy hearing you do that. So I can't imagine I would actually enjoy hearing that during a movie as well.
It's people you have to be behind. But no, that was really interesting. It was a difficult movie at times to watch. It was about a difficult man.
Yeah.
Just so.
Well, it's a Baumbach movie. I mean, Noah Baumbach is about.
He makes broken people movies, really.
Yeah, and I will say that it is the most watchable of his movies by far, because I'm not a huge fan of his. I thought Squid and Whale was just shy of unbearable.
Margot at the Wedding was really, really tough. I really, really like Kicking and Screaming, his first movie. About the least broken of his castings. Kind of slight at this point, but I don't know. It's really kind of really touched me in my post collegiate days. So.
But yeah, I think Ben Stiller in that movie tapped into something that felt fairly authentic. Like, I think he reminded me a lot of the sort of burnout indie rock musicians that I have known over the years, and definitely.
The woman in that is really
Greta
good
Gerwig.
Too.
Yeah,
she's a really good performance. Like, it was really, really, really touching.
She's big into that mumblecore scene that I keep seeing referenced, that I've actually not really seen very many of the movies from.
I went back and put them on my Netflix. She's been on a bunch of like indie. She like co-directed, co-wrote some movies, so I'm really kind of curious to see them.
You see Wrist Cutters.
She's not in Wrist Cutters, but
I'm saying as far as your mumblecore.
Yeah,
movies,
I have seen Wrist Cutters, and that definitely fits into that kind of that neat little category.
Ugh.
Yeah, that movie's bland, but
it's I put that in league with 500 Days of Summer.
Too twee for its own good.
I fell asleep.
That's fair. Mr. Lopez.
Yes, sir.
Any favorites from this year?
This one's kind of cheating because it was released last year in a very tiny amount of
Cut off his mic.
Little handful of studios, but it was released wider in early January. So it was Ajami.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the one about the Tel Aviv Yafa neighborhood called Ajami, and a bunch of stories that go on there. It's like a vignette style. There's 5 chapters, and just kind of it was
It was one of the nominees for best foreign film at the Oscars this year, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but they released it last year in just a handful of theaters so that it could get on that list.
Right.
And then it had a wider release this year. So I know it's kind of cheating for
no, that's
things
fine.
this year, but I did see it in the theater this year just last month actually.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it. I mean, it was a movie about Israel, about life in Israel that didn't entirely revolve around people killing each other over racial tension. I mean, there's still a lot of killing in that movie, but it's not necessarily over racial tensions.
Anybody see Gomorrah?
I did see Gomorrah.
Was it good?
Gomorrah is
I hear intense.
rough. That is a rough movie to watch.
I've just seen men shooting each other in their underwear.
Yeah, like the premise of that movie is that it's very much about like old mafia families that like live in modern day, like just sort of like the roughest parts of Italy.
I didn't mean to cut you off, man.
That's okay.
It reminded me like I meant to see Gomorrah.
Yeah, it's it's definitely one of those like this is a hard movie to watch because it's like a lot of very destitute, very desperate people doing horrible things to each other, all in the name of sort of this antiquated mafioso kind of mentality. But it's extremely well made. The acting is tremendous, and there's these two characters like the guys you've seen running around in their underwear shooting guns, are just these two teenagers that are just absolute hell. The whole movie, like they are just running around and like trying to make this reputation for themselves as just local badasses, and it what happens to them is sort of tragic, but at the same time very fitting. So I would highly recommend watching that one if you're into watching foreign people do terrible things to each other.
Cool, I'll check it out.
Speaking of which, one of my favorites of the year is a little Korean film called Mother.
Yeah, I heard you speak highly of it.
It's from the guy who did that movie The Host, which is not at all what Mother is. It's it's kind of a giant monster movie, but it actually is sort of related in a tangential way in the sense that like they're both kind of familial dramas. Mm-hmm. But so Mother is this movie about a very very awkward, very desperate woman who, takes care of her son who is sort of like a little bit mentally handicapped, and he's accused of murder, and she just sort of flies off the handle as soon as that happens. Like she's running around like trying to convince everyone he's innocent, trying to like, dig up evidence that proves his innocence. But the woman at the center of the movie is absolutely tremendous. She's a sort of noted Korean actress who I think is sort of, she mostly does like really lighthearted movies where she plays like a really sweet kind of good-natured mom character. So like her doing this is like very much against type, and it works well because like she has that like she exudes the maternal thing very well, but like she also seems completely unhinged the entire time. And it's great. It's really interesting mystery to watch unfold, and
I'll wait for the remake, which comes out probably next year.
Yeah, actually, they are remaking The Host right now.
Oh God, I was not a huge fan of The Host, to be honest with you.
I liked it. I think it's a little over silly.
I'm not a huge fan of movies that have heroes that are not heroic, I guess. I have weird standards for like Michael Cera as a hero of any movie. I can't deal with it. Kick-Ass was another thing where that guy was so effing annoying that it kind of kills movies for me. But it's weird how the Korean movies that are coming over here are all pretty like the bizarrest of the Korean movies. Like Old Boy was kind of the standard
right
in that sense. Like here's the weirdest movies we make.
Well, the thing I'll say about Korean movies, and another one I saw this, I actually seen I saw The Good, the Bad, the Weird, which is a lot of fun, but also like very aggressively quirky and
kind of a late entry into the remake rematch, because it was also another kind of Yojimbo. No, it was a Good, the Bad, and the Ugly kind of thing. Okay,
it takes certain plot elements from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, but it's very much its own thing. Like it's set in 1930s Manchuria, when Korea is sort of like barely a country anymore. It's being sold off, and like it's just about these dudes who are like treasure hunters, but like there's a lot of like there's all these rival gangs and like the Japanese military, and like everybody's bearing down on them, and everyone's trying to get to this like mystery treasure map. But it's also a very silly, very fun action movie.
I think it can also just be tough for American film goers to wrap their head around the way a lot of Asian cinema is. They want everything in every movie.
Yeah,
it's not like, okay, a horror movie will only have horrific things in it. It's like, no, like we're gonna have the broad farce comedy element in this big action movie, but then we'll also have the sweet love story. They will pack everything in. If you want a musical number, we'll throw that shit in there too. So We're so used to that stuff being a lot more compartmentalized, and it's one of the things that I've noticed in watching a lot of Asian films is that they're not afraid to just
throw the kitchen sink.
Have a weird mentally handicapped character in the middle of your tense romantic drama.
Well, and that's the thing I specifically noticed about Korean movies is that like they combine a lot of like the more melodramatic stuff from like Chinese film, with like the just hyper weirdness of Japan. And I mean, culturally, it sort of makes sense considering, Japan and China both had their fingers culturally in, Korea's pie for many, many hundreds of years. So like, I love pie. But, it's just interesting the way that like, it seems like a lot of those movies are just taking specific elements from like both those, kind of schools of filmmaking and just combining them in increasingly strange and bizarre ways.
What's that upcoming movie with Donnie Yen as the Wing Chun master? It's supposed to be an amazing martial arts movie.
I don't know.
It's I forget the name of it at the moment, but it looks. I've seen the trailer for it. It looks a lot like Fist of Legend in the same kind of Japanese Chinese army kind of tension kind of period piece. But it's supposed to be amazing. Donnie Yen is really good. Underserved in a lot
That
of
guy
movies.
can punch people real good.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
The last one I'll talk about real quick, I just want to throw out there, is a movie that I imagine most people will not be able to find until it is on Netflix, but Exit Through the Gift Shop, which is the Banksy street art documentary, which is not really a documentary, is easily the funniest movie I've seen all year. It purports itself to be this documentary about this guy named Terry Guetta who supposedly followed around all these street artists for 8 or 9 years, under the auspices of making a documentary about street art. And it turns out he's just insane and has just been taking all this footage and doing nothing with it. So Banksy supposedly takes his footage and, decides to make his own movie. But then Terry Guetta takes on his own street art persona and basically just takes just makes all this Andy Warhol-esque derivative art that supposedly sells for millions. And, it at some point turns from being this kind of seemingly honest documentary into very clearly a prank by Banksy to sort of commentate on what street art has turned into as a commercial product. And while that sounds very dry, it's actually incredibly funny because Terry Guetta is just a ridiculous cartoon character from the get-go. And
it's just my question is, and it always comes down to this with with movies that end up being mockumentaries is, do you know how they were pitching it? Were they going around acting like it was real, or
it comes off very much like they're trying to treat this like a real thing,
right? But it's eventually you realize, okay, this is
At some point, it just becomes
we have ginned this up in some.
It's just too perfect a commentary.
Yeah.
There's no way that dude actually exists.
Oh, I don't doubt that it is fabricated. I'm just wondering how they, because it's a point where a lot of movies I think get into trouble as far as expectations go, Paper Heart from last year.
Yeah.
Where a lot of people is this real? Is this an actual documentary? Or this guy who's on camera is not the guy that he says he is, and he's playing the part of the director who's actually behind the camera.
Right.
And I feel like that can, everyone wanting to have their Andy Kaufman moment can sometimes detract from and distract from what the actual end product is.
Well, I think where Paper Heart failed and also wasn't necessarily terribly interesting or funny, this movie very much succeeds. I think it actually does its play it straight but is clearly ridiculous thing very, very well, and it is by far the movie that has stuck out in my head the most, next to The Human Centipede, which not one of my favorites necessarily, but hey, I'm not going to forget that anytime soon. So
let's talk about it. You saw that this weekend, right?
I saw that this weekend at a midnight screening. Lopez, you were there with me.
Mouth.
Yeah, it is as I say in the review, it is the ass to mouth horror comedy you never asked for. Lopez, why don't you start this one off? What did you think of The Human Centipede first sequence?
Well, my first thought of Human Centipede is actually the man 3 rows in front of us sketching dragons in his sketchbook.
That is the thing that happened.
Audience. That was the audience that was there.
He had a leopard print haircut, and he was sketching dragons by himself. He had come alone and was just sitting there sketching, and it was he is the world's most perfect human.
Yeah. I thought the villain in that, what was that guy's name?
Dieter Laser is the name of the actor, which is my second favorite actor name of all time.
Yeah, I have to say he's one of the most perfect villains. He's got the face of one of the most perfect villains I've ever seen.
He's very Walken-esque.
Yeah,
he has that sort of
he's
gaunt
so
skeletal thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Udo Kier.
Yeah, there's some of that too.
See that.
But he is a riot in that movie.
Totally.
That movie is way more comedy than I thought it was going to be.
I'd say it's the blackest comedy I've probably ever seen.
Yeah, it's it's pure gallows humor. It's gross, but it's not as gratuitously gross as you would ever expect it to be.
So is there ever actually any horror tension in it? Does it ever actually accomplish that, or
they try early on?
Is it just so fucking over the top that you can't take it serious?
So he walks in with the overhead projector, and he's got these little sketches of what he's going to do to them, and he's describing in excruciating flat detail about it while everyone is just crying and screaming. And then one of the girls escapes for a little bit. She's like running around his house, like trying to escape. And so they try a little bit of like the chase tension stuff there, but it's an inevitability. You know, like the centipede's coming. It's gonna happen. Like there's no real like belief in your head at any point that it's not going to. And then it does it. And then there's a human centipede for like half the movie, and it's gross. I mean, it's gross. There's some blood and some unpleasantness coming out of, you know, various ends of those people, but they don't turn it into a giant shit joke.
Okay.
Like there's in fact very surprisingly little feces in that movie, which I was very appreciative of.
Yeah, thank goodness.
And you know, it's a disgusting fate worse than death that is portrayed for a very long time, but it is not played in such a way as to be soul crushing in any particular way. Like if anything, I laughed a lot, and I was not necessarily expecting that.
I don't think I can see it.
I
don't think I can.
I was the same way. Like I was like, midnight on a Friday. I'm already really tired. I might fall asleep halfway through, but I probably wouldn't have from your description of it. But yeah, I kind of, you know, I know. I'm at this point. I'm 30. I know there are movies that I am probably not meant to see. I'm not a big horror guy. I'm not a big gore guy.
I enjoy horror, but it's the extreme horror, other than Cronenberg, the body horror stuff. I'm not a huge fan of.
It's a demented little movie, and it is definitely not super pleasant to sit through. But
I'd rather just go watch The Reanimator again.
But it's a good midnight movie. Like if you're there with like a lively crowd who will get into it, like I'm sure in 6 months or so when they're still showing that at midnight, there will be scripted call outs that everyone is supposed to do, a la The Room or something. But it's definitely not like it's not a midnight movie in the sense of like it's not willfully inept. Like it is very it takes its stupidity very seriously, and it is pretty good at it. So I will say I am a fan of the human centipede, whatever that means for me. I don't know, but I was basically a fan of it. So yeah, and Ryan, anything?
I actually, other than Iron Man 2, I have seen no 2010 releases. However,
really?
I would just like to bring up the fact that my birthday is June 4th.
Uh-huh.
And this year, my birthday falls on a Friday.
Uh-huh.
Which means that there will be movies coming out on my birthday.
Hey Ryan, what movie is coming out on your birthday?
Let's say movies.
What movies are coming out on your birthday?
I feel like this is a cruel joke. Last year, for my 30th birthday, the last day of E3, the Electronic Entertainment Expo, which for Giant Bomb, a video game website, is a big deal. I was down in L.A. in a hotel room. Or actually, no, I was in L.A. covering E3. It was the last day of the show, so I was on the convention floor working it. So that was kind of its own fate. And then this year, I have Killers, the Ashton Kutcher, Katherine Heigl monstrosity.
My pick for the worst movie of the summer, actually,
or at least appealing looking.
I'll give you. Well, the other I think nominee is also coming out that week. Marmaduke.
Marmaduke.
And then also, and I'm kind of bummed that this is also in that. It is being damaged from being lumped in, but I don't have high hopes for it. Get Him to the Greek also comes out that week.
Yeah.
Nick Stoller, I loved Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
I like Jonah Hill. More or less,
yeah, he's all right, but yeah, the Joan like
I'm looking forward to Cyrus, which is that sort of that John C. Reilly indie comedy thing that he's in. Like I think that looks good.
But I don't know the Russell Brand Jonah Hill interaction, like that's not a movie to me.
No, that is definitely.
And again, loved Nick Stoller, loved Forgetting Sarah Marshall, so maybe I'll give that a little bit more of a pass. But Killers and Marmaduke.
Happy birthday, Ryan!
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like the cosmos is punishing me for something, putting those both out on my birthday.
We'll have reviews up of those movies that weekend, but let's just throw it out there that we don't have high hopes. And if you haven't seen it already, there's actually a pretty good summer movie preview up on the AV Club where they spend a absolutely absurd amount of time talking about Marmaduke in relation to every other movie that's coming out this summer.
39 releases or something?
It's like 40 releases, and they rate exactly how every single one of those movies compares to Marmaduke.
Well, it's the baseline.
Yeah.
It's where you start off from, like, well, okay, it's it's kind of the Avatar of 2010.
I think so.
We already know it.
I mean,
we can already tell this is going to be an event. So
it's got Fergie in it.
we've got to.
And the sad thing about Marmaduke is it's going to make $150 million easy.
No, it is
if
not.
Beverly Hills Chihuahua is an indication, it's going to make crap loads of money.
I'm not as convinced as you are of that. I actually think that like the tolerance for the just unbearably broad family comedy is starting to go down a little bit. Like Old Dogs did not make money. Like just, I mean, even though like for instance, Wild Hogs like reviewed roughly the same, if maybe slightly better, and it made a ton of money.
Yeah.
Old Dogs did not perform to expectations to the point where the guy at the head of the studio straight up said, "Yeah, we're not making sequels to Wild Hogs or any of this stuff. Like we're not doing it anymore."
Surprised they actually made it in the first place.
So that is like I think that there. Okay, maybe I'm being optimistic, but there's a hope inside of me that maybe people are starting to like react poorly to this.
My understanding of the canceling of the Wild Hogs sequel is there's a new head at Disney, and that was one of his moves was like, nah, this isn't.
We're not doing this.
So I don't care if it made money. We need like at least a little bit of self-respect. So
another example, Furry Vengeance is like 10 million in the hole right now, and that's a pretty broad family comedy that just fell flat on its face.
Hey Lopez, how is Furry Vengeance?
Don't ask me.
I'm asking
actually,
you, man.
Yeah. You know, when we were talking about Exit Through the Gift Shop earlier, I was thinking about chiming in and saying that I did actually purchase a ticket for Exit Through the Gift Shop to see Furry Vengeance. I was just too embarrassed to actually buy a ticket for Furry Vengeance. I would much rather support.
So you bought a ticket for Exit Through the Gift Shop
I
and
did.
Snuck into Furry Vengeance just to make sure it didn't show up on the ledgers.
Yeah. My review will be up there on the site.
It is
lovely.
I bet it's great. I bet it's a great movie. I look forward to reading what you have to say about it. So we're kind of getting down here on time, but there is one piece of news that I want to talk about real quick before we duck out, which is the sort of it's a thing that had been rumored for a while, but I still consider it the weirdest piece of news to come out of movies in a while, which is that Brad Bird is directing Mission Impossible 4.
Yeah,
which
Brad
is
Bird of Ratatouille
weird.
and Incredibles fame
and The Iron Giant. Yeah, so it's been known for a while that he wanted to get into live action filmmaking. Like he has this pet project he's working on called 1906 for a while that is about the earthquake and fires of San Francisco in 1906, and is apparently like way expensive, like way too broad of a script right now. Studio kind of balking at it, but and now before he gets to serious about that, now he's doing Mission Impossible 4, which I don't know. I mean, I love Brad Bird to death. I will see anything the man makes at this point. He's in my mind gold, but Mission Impossible has been moribund for quite some time. I really did not like 3. I mean, 2 was obviously just kind of a miserable endeavor. One is
really
great.
Good. One is really
one
good.
is great. The Brian De Palma one is great, but
And unfortunately for Brad Bird though, like you're really not the director of Mission Impossible 4. You're the shepherd more. With J.J. Abrams and
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise are both involved as producers.
Right.
You are going to get.
you're the guy
Watch
they
like a
tell
hawk.
how to direct.
Yeah, and I don't think I from what I know of Brad Bird, I don't think he seems like the kind of guy who could chafe under those kind of conditions. So I'm really curious to see how it turns out.
I'm just fascinated by what would have drawn him to that project.
Money.
Well, money I'm sure didn't hurt, but like it's just it seems like a weird thing for him to like finally get his his debut on as
Big
far as
franchise.
live
It'll be a
action.
July 4th movie. It'll be a big summer tentpole. He could have gone quirky indie character study, something like that. But
I don't know if he could. Like you look at the 3 animated features that he has a name attached to, like both Iron Giant and The Incredibles. Like there's some great character work in those, but they are big ass like family adventure movies.
they're not really subtle. They have messages, but they're not like
There's nothing low key about either of those movies,
Yeah.
and like while the subject matter of this 1906 is maybe a little off the beaten path for films, like that's still like that's a big disaster movie.
Yeah.
That's that's Earthquake, except
Towering Inferno.
it's old Earthquake.
Yeah, it's a hell of an old earthquake, and I think that's what's holding it up is the fact that like they'd have to CG generate an old San Francisco to blow up.
But I guess I'll be in the minority. I really enjoyed Mission Impossible 3. Did not like 2. So
Yeah.
2 is
So
definitely.
I think J.J. Abrams has proved that over the past 3 or 4 years that he can, even when he's not directing, he can help facilitate super entertaining summer blockbuster films with like very unique visions.
Indeed.
So if his touch ends up being felt on Mission Impossible 4, I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. And yeah, it's a spy movie. He again, Brad Bird basically made a spy movie in The Incredibles.
That's true.
It's just with a slightly different focus. Like even just the score of that movie. So yeah, I'm stoked. I'm stoked to hear Brad Bird working on anything because I love Brad Bird.
Absolutely.
And this isn't the weirdest fit, and I could see him, bring some good life to this. You're right. It's definitely not the franchise it once was, and I will also agree that the first Mission Impossible is the best.
Absolutely.
Also one of my favorite movies, just kind of overall.
Yeah.
It's a great cable movie. You see it come on, you're like, yeah, I know. What
It's a hard movie not to watch when it comes on.
Yeah, totally. And it's correct me if I'm wrong. That movie did not do super great at the it did okay at the theaters, but it didn't do as well as it should have, mostly because of how confusing it was.
Convoluted, but it's great. It's a great movie to watch twice.
Absolutely.
Such a De Palma movie.
The second time you watch it, everything kind of falls into place.
The first time it's over, you're like, wait.
What?
Why did anything happen? What is even happening in any of these scenes?
The knock files, man.
It's very unusual that you need a second viewing on big summer Tom Cruise blockbuster action movie.
The first time I saw it, I was like, why is the Drake Hotel important? I don't get it. But then all
those damn Gideons.
And then Mission Impossible 2, John Woo.
John Woo doing a parody of John Woo movies.
Yeah, I don't hate that movie as much as most people do. I had some fun with it, but it is definitely not good.
The problem with that one, and bring it back around to what we were talking about earlier, similar to the problem with Iron Man 2, not a good villain.
No,
not a standout villain. Also my issue with Lethal Weapon 3.
Yeah, not a good villain.
It's good or bad, they at least need to be memorable.
Right.
And whenever you go to Rogue Agent, that's just the laziest of all possible villain archetypes.
Unless that Rogue Agent is somehow incredibly interesting. For instance, I thought the Rogue Agent, that Sean Bean played in GoldenEye was actually pretty good. That is an example of how to make that character sort of memorable.
Yeah, but it just as far as the archetype goes, I feel like whenever you get to the movie where it's he's a rogue cop or he was a rogue company man, it's we couldn't think of any other good ideas, so we had this one. Let's go. We needed to make this movie and put it out by summer, so
here you go.
This is what we came up with.
This guy's bad now.
Yeah, I just remember Anthony Hopkins and that being a big surprise when he came on the screen. It was really cool for a second there, but then he was
MI2, yeah. Well, I mean, he was basically. He more or less replaced the Kittredge dude or whatever from the first one as his sort of contact at the. Well, he was in 3 also, wasn't he?
Was he? I don't think so.
No, who was the main guy in 3 that was his contact at the agency?
A little guy you might know as Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah.
That's right.
Fishburne and Billy Crudup were the two.
Oh, you mean Larry Fishburne? Yes.
Yeah, Larry.
No, I know.
The Fishman.
That's right. Yeah, I remember so little of Mission Impossible 3 other than kind of hating it, but
it's not bad.
It's
not. Go give it another go. It's
another
not bad.
weird. Why would Billy Crudup be in that? Because he's always been the indie.
And he's
actor
not bad.
guy.
He's not bad in that either. I like it.
Yeah, he kind of twisted up in there.
I think you.
I'm with you on Philip Seymour Hoffman being kind of
that's the other
a
thing.
good level of Insidious.
He is so diabolical in that movie.
He's so diabolical, but for no particularly good reason. And I didn't I hated all the stuff with Tom Cruise and the girl. I really hated the God. Who was the girl in that movie?
Michelle Monaghan.
Michelle Monaghan. Yeah. Michelle Monaghan. Yeah. I could not stand their relationship. I could not stand any of the early stuff with Kerry Russell, and it just didn't work for me at all.
I admire the beginning of the film at the end of the film kind of thing where they start off and then they go way back to kind of It doesn't happen too often.
Bomb in his brain. He had a bomb in his brain. I don't know if you know that.
There was a bomb in his brain.
He had a bomb in his brain. And
There's a bomb in your brain.
And when the bomb went off in Kerry Russell's brain, her eye went off to the side, all gross like.
It was all higgledy-piggledy, yeah.
And oh no, she's not okay anymore.
Yeah, she's kind of dead.
When the eye goes like that, you can tell something's wrong. We gotta go.
It is officially time. Thank you for listening, everyone. We will be doing this every week. I don't know what day yet. We'll figure it out. Ryan, thank you for coming on. Appreciate
having me.
Rory,
a pleasure. Giant bomb.
It's a pleasure.
Always a pleasure to see you.
Very pleasurable.
I never do. Lopez, get back to work.
Thanks for having me. Okay, we'll do.
Was it a pleasure?
Yes, it was a pleasure. Did I not do that?
Well, anyway, check out the site, edit some stuff, read some reviews, watch some videos, have some fun. We'll be back next week. Thanks for listening.